This is a video about how you could possibly use forms, Google Forms, to be able to do things in class. And so I'm going to give you some ideas. There's a different video in the student and teacher Google Apps section that shows how to actually create a form. This is more some ideas of how you could actually use it. So this is a project that I do every year where I want students to measure the energy loss of something. And the problem I find is that students dream up these awesome, great projects, except that they're not really actually feasible for a high school student to be able to do. So what I did is I created this form so that I could have them submit this overnight, and then the next morning I could take a look at it and make sure that everything that they're planning on doing is actually something that's feasible. That way, if it's not feasible, I can talk with them during class and have them revise their ideas. So I had them submit some basic name like their members. This means it's a required information. This little asterisk. So I said here, briefly describe the process that you're going to study to measure energy loss. So I wanted to know what they were going to do approximately. I wanted to know how they were going to measure the mass, how they're going to measure initial velocity, final velocity, initial height, final height. Do you plan to use springs? What technology do you actually need? Video camera, motion detector, photo gate, other probes, Logger Pro, any of those kinds of things. And last of all, are there any questions or concerns? And I found this to just be a really great way to make sure that students are actually planning something that's going to be feasible. So then when you actually do the data, you end up with a result like this. It compiles all that information. So it's got the group members' names, so you remember 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it has all the information. So, sorry, it keeps going back and forth. So briefly describe the process you're going to be studying. Well, we're going to put a we're going to put a golf ball in school carpeting, whatever. It puts all that information right here for each group. Really slick way to be able to quick go through and take a look at what students are planning to do. That's one possibility. Another thing, I just did a survey this one time. I read an article one time about physics and humor and how sometimes humor can be a negative in physics. So I was just curious what my students thought. So I just had them fill out a survey where I asked a couple of questions and it compiled it this way. So I'll show you the form real quick. The form looked like this. It just asked, it says their potential college major, and then other, whatever their other major was, and then their gender, and partially because that's one of the effects possibly of this humor, whether I enjoy humor, raptor jokes, that kind of thing. That's because that was a theme in the class at that point in time. So that's another way that I've used Google Forms. And the third way is more of a logistical thing, doing book checkouts. And so this is, I'm going to go to the live form, a form that actually Jamie Paulson originally made and that I modified. That is a way for students to do book checkouts. So they write down their name, their student ID, their book number, and that way I can sort that list in a lot of different ways. Then which issues does your book have? So we have a lot of possible lists here, plus other. And then explain more in detail what is wrong with the book. And then they could send themselves a copy of the responses, and that way they have a record of this that's a digital copy. So those are some ways that you could use forms. I'm sure there are plenty other ways, but I just thought I'd give you some ideas through this video.